All right. Hi, everyone. Good day. It's time for me to read more of Color of Magic. I don't understand anything. I do understand some things. I'm lying. This is for 3 parts. This is the fourth section of The Color of Magic. With only his homemade phrase book to help him, Two-Flower was trying to explain the mysteries of insurance to Broadman. I can't deal with this. The fat innkeeper was listening intently, his little black eyes glittering. From the other end of the table, Moore watched with mild amusement, occasionally feeding one of his ravens with scraps from his plate. Beside him, Withel paced up and down. "You fret too much," said Moore, without taking his eyes from the two men opposite him. "I can feel it, Stren. Who would dare attack us here? And the gutter wizard will come. He's too much of a coward not to, and he'll try to bargain. And we shall have him, and the gold, and the chest." Willow's one-eye stick glared, and he smacked a fist into the palm of a black-gloved hand. "Who would have thought there was so much sapient pearwood in the whole of the disc?" he said. "How could we have known?" "You fret too much, Stren. I'm sure you can do better this time," said he more pleasantly. The lieutenant snorted in disgust and strode off around the room to bully his men. Moore carried on watching the tourist. It was strange, but the little man didn't seem to realize the seriousness of his position. He doesn't seem to realize a lot of things. Moore had on several occasions seen him look around the room with an expression of deep satisfaction. He'd also been talking for ages to Broadman, and Moore had seen a piece of paper change hands, and Broadman had given the foreigner some coins. It was strange. So now we know what that is. When Broadman got up and waddled past Moore's chair, the thief master's arm shot out like a steel spring and grabbed the fat man by his apron. "What was that all about, friend?" asked Moore quietly. Nothing, Moore. Just private business, like. There are no secrets between friends, Broadman." "Yar, well, I'm not sure about it myself, really. It's sort of a bet, see?" said the innkeeper nervously. "Insurance, as it's called. It's like a bet that the broken drum won't get burned down." It's gonna get burned down. This is like me when I say things in videos and reviews, and all of you are like, "You said the thing." Well, he just said the thing. Moore held the man's gaze until Broadman twitched in fear and embarrassment. Then the thief master laughed. "This worm-eaten old tinderpile," he said. "The man must be mad. Yes, but mad with money. He says now he's got the... can't remember the word. Begins with a P. It's what you might call the stake money. The people he works for in the Agatean Empire will pay up. If the broken drum burns down... not that I hope it does. Burn down. The broken drum, I mean. It's like a home to me. Is the drum... Not entirely stupid, are you?" said Moore, and pushed the innkeeper away. The door slammed back on its hinges and thudded into the wall. "Hey, that's my door," screamed Broadman. Then he realized who was standing at the top of the steps, and ducked behind the table a mere shaving of time before a short black dart sped across the room and thunked into the woodwork. Moore moved his hand carefully and poured out another flagon of beer. "Won't you join me, Zlorf?" he said levelly. "And put that sword away, Stren. Zlorf Flannelfoot is our friend." The president of the Assassin's Guild spun his short blowgun dexterously and slotted it into his holster in one smooth movement. He uses a dart gun. Anyway, that's just so strange to me and funny. Anyway, "Stren," said Moore. The black-clad thief hissed and sheathed his sword, but he kept his hand on the hilt and his eyes on the assassin. That wasn't easy. Promotion in the Assassin's Guild was by competitive examination, the practical being the most important, indeed the only part. Thus Lorf's broad, honest face was a wealth of scar tissue, the result of many a close encounter. He probably hadn't been all that good-looking in any case. It was said that Zlorf had chosen a profession in which dark hoods, cloaks, and nocturnal prowlings figured largely because there was a day-fearing trollish streak in his parentage. People who said this in earshot of Zlorf tended to carry their ears home in their hats. Oh my god. I can't do this. He strolled down the stairs, followed by a number of assassins. When he was directly in front of Moore, he said, "I've come for the tourist." "Is it any of your business, Lorf?" "Yes, Grinjo, Ermon. Take him." Two of the assassins stepped forward. Then Stren was in front of them, his sword appearing to materialize an inch from their throats without having to pass through the intervening air. "Possibly I could kill only one of you," he murmured. "But I suggest you ask yourselves, which one?" "Look up, Zlorf," said Moore. A row of yellow, baleful eyes looked down from the darkness among the rafters. "One step more, and you'll leave here with fewer eyeballs than you came with," said the thief master. "So sit down and have a drink, Zlorf, and let's talk about this sensibly. I thought we had an agreement. You don't rob, I don't kill. Not for payment, that is, he added after a pause. Zlorf took the proffered beer. So, he said, I'll kill him, then you rob him. Is he that funny-looking one over there? Yes. Zlorf stared at Two Flower, who grinned at him. He shrugged. He seldom wasted time wondering why people wanted other people dead. It was just a living. Who is your client, may I ask? Said Moore. Zlorf held up a hand. Please, he protested. Professional etiquette. Of course. By the way, yes? I believe I have a couple of guards outside. Had. And some others in the doorway across the street, formally, and two bowmen on the roof. A flicker of doubt passed across Zlorf's face, then, like the last shaft of sunlight over a badly plowed field. Like the last shaft of plowed. That's a good sentence. The door flew open, badly damaging the assassin who was standing beside it. Stop doing that! Shrieked Broadman from under his table. Oh, Zlorf and Moore stared up at the figure on the threshold. It was short, fat, and richly dressed. Very richly dressed. There were a number of tall, big shapes looming behind it. Very big. Threatening shape. Who's that? Said Zlorf. I know him, said Moore. His name's Rurpf. He runs the Groaning Platter Tavern down by the Brass Bridge. By the Brass Bridge. Stren, remove him. I don't even know how to say this. Rurpf? I don't know if the P's silent. It could be. I'll say Rurf, because usually the P is silent. Rurf held up a beringed hand. Strenwethal hesitated halfway to the door as several very large trolls ducked under the doorway and stood on either side of the fat man, blinking in the light. Muscles the size of melons bulged in forearms like flour sacks. Each troll held a double-headed axe between thumb and forefinger. They just do that to show off. Broadman erupted from cover, his face suffused with rage. Out! He screamed. Get those trolls out of here. No one moved. The room was suddenly quiet. Broadman looked around quickly. It began to dawn on him just what he had said. And to whom? A whisper escaped from his lips. Glad to be free. He reached the doorway to his cellars just as one of the trolls, with a lazy flick of one ham-sized hand, sent his axe whirling across the room. The slam of the door, and its subsequent splitting as the axe hit it, merged into one sound. Oh, God! Bloody hell, exclaimed Zlorf Flannelfoot. What do you want? Said Moore. I am here on behalf of the Guild of Merchants and Traders, said Rurf evenly, to protect our interests, you might say, meaning the little man. Oh my God. And I bet throughout all of this, Two Flower has no clue what's going on. Moore wrinkled his brows. I'm sorry, he said. I thought I heard you say the Guild of Merchants and Traders, agreed Rurf. Behind him now, in addition to more trolls, were several humans that he more vaguely recognized. He had seen them, maybe, behind counters and bars, shadowy figures, usually, easily ignored, easily forgotten. At the back of his mind, a bad feeling began to grow. He thought about how it might be to be, say, a fox confronted with an angry sheep. A sheep, moreover, that could afford to employ wolves. Oh, boy. How long has this guild been in existence, may I ask, he said. Since this afternoon, said Rurf. I'm Vice Guildmaster in charge of tourism, you know. What is this tourism of which you speak? We're not quite sure, said Rurf. An old bearded man poked his head over the guildmaster's shoulder and cackled. Speaking on behalf of the wine cellars of Moorpork, tourism means business. See? Well, said Moore coldly. Well, said Rurf, we're protecting our interests. Like I said, thieves out, cackled his elderly companion. Several others took up the chant. Zlorf grinned. And assassins, chanted the old man. Zlorf growled. Stands to reason, said Rurf. People robbing and murdering all over the place. What sort of impression are visitors going to take away? You come all the way to see our fine city with its many points of historical and civic interest, also many quaint customs, and you wake up dead in some back alley. You can't wake up dead. That's not a thing. Anyway, or as it might be floating down the Yonk, how are you going to tell all your friends what a great time you're having? Let's face it, you've got to move with the times. What the fuck is happening in this book? This turned into an argument about proper tourism. I need water. I don't understand anything. Zlorf and Moore met each other's gaze. We have we? Said Moore. Then let us move together, brother, agreed Zlorf. In one movement he brought his blowgun to his mouth and sent a dart hissing toward the nearest troll. It spun around, hurling its axe, which whirred over the assassin's head and buried itself in a luckless thief behind him. Oh, God. Rurf ducked, allowing a troll behind him to raise its huge iron crossbow and fire a spear-length quarrel into the nearest assassin. That was the start of what? Oh, of what? It has been remarked before that those who are sensitive to radiations in the far octarine, the eighth color, the pigment of the imagination, can see things that others cannot. Thus it was that Rincewind, hurrying through the crowded, flare-lit evening bazaars of Moorpork, with the luggage trundling behind him, jostled a tall, dark figure, turned to deliver a few suitable... That's not what that sentence is. That is not... What? Hold on. Turned to deliver a few suitable curses and beheld death. Capital D, like a character. It had to be death. Why? Why? What? No one else went around with empty eye sockets, and of course the scythe over one shoulder was another clue. Oh my god. I think this is worse than reading John Dies at the end. I have no idea what's going on. And I think y'all asked me to read this just to see how I'd react to not knowing what's going on. As Rincewind stared in horror, a courting couple, laughing at some private joke, walked straight through the apparition without appearing to notice it. Death, insofar as it was possible in a face with no movable features, looked surprised. Rincewind, Death said. He knows him? In tones as deep and heavy as the slamming of leaden doors far underground. Fuck, that's a really good sentence, too. He's really good with the metaphors. Said Rincewind, trying to back away from that eyeless stare. I like how the first thing Rincewind says to Death is, But why are you here? Boom, boom, went cryptids in the warm, haunted fastnesses under old mountains. Why not? Said Rincewind. Anyway, I'm sure you've got loads to do, so if you'll just... I was surprised that you jostled me, Rincewind, for I have an appointment with thee this very night. Oh no, not... Of course, what's so bloody vexing about the whole business is that I was expecting to meet thee in Phaseophilis. No, Phasephopololis. Or Cephalopololis. There, I'll commit to that one. But that's 500 miles away. You don't have to tell me. The whole system's got screwed up again. I could see that. Look, there's no chance of you... Rincewind backed away, hands spread protectively in front of him. The dried fish salesman on a nearby stall watched this madman with interest, because I imagine he can only see Rincewind. Not a chance. I could lend you a very fast horse. No, it won't hurt a bit. No, Rincewind turned and ran. Death watched him go and shrugged bitterly. Sod you then, Death said. He turned and noticed the fish salesman. With a snarl, Death reached out a bony finger and stopped the man's heart, but he didn't take much pride in it. Then Death remembered what was due to happen later that night. It would not be true to say that Death smiled, because in any case, his features were perforce frozen in a calcerous grin. But he hummed a little tune, cheery as a plague pit, oh my god. And, pausing only to extract the life from a passing mayfly, it would make sense that he would control all life. Anyway, and 1/9 of the lives from a cat cowering under the fish stall. All cats can see into the octarine. Death turned on his heel and set off toward the broken drum. Oh, 'cause so many people died there. What the fuck is this book? Short Street, Moorpork, is in fact one of the longest in the city. Of course it is. Of course it is. I can't do this. Filigree Street crosses its turnwise end in the manner of the crosspiece of a T, and the broken drum is so placed that it looks down the full length of the street. At the furthermost end of Short Street, a dark oblong rose on hundreds of tiny legs and started to run. At first it moved at no more than a lumbering trot, but by the time it was halfway up the street, it was moving arrow fast. A darker shadow inched its way along one of the walls of the drum, a few yards from the two trolls who were guarding the door. Rincewind was sweating. If they heard the faint clinking of the specially prepared bags at his belt, what is he going to do? One of the trolls tapped his colleague on the shoulder, producing a noise like two pebbles being knocked together. He pointed down the starlit street. Rincewind darted from his hiding place, turned, and hurled his burden through the drum's nearest window. What did you put in those... This is chaos. I can't... Okay, I'm nearing 15 minutes. I am going to make another video and continue to be confused in that.